And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Okay, flying weather for Wednesday morning, showing some IFR here over the northern Bering Sea up to the Yukon Delta coast, and of course across Nunivak Island, marginal to the south there, and some VFR here, Adak-Atka into the western Alaska Peninsula and portions into the eastern Aleutians here, portions of the western Alaska Peninsula, marginal VFR, and then a zone of IFR here, Togiak Bay up to the north and northeast a little ways. Also along the Prince William Sound area, southern Kenai Peninsula, and IFR and marginal for the Panhandle. Marginal VFR here up over into the southeast interior. Good VFR though for the central and northern part of the state. And then we've got some IFR building here off the southeast coast that actually slides up to the north for tomorrow afternoon and extends from roughly Cordova or so eastward there to Yakutat and then the eastern Panhandle IFR. A little bit of IFR here for the eastern Alaska Range and still here over the southwest mountains and then northern Bering Sea, Yukon Delta, Nunivak Island up to St. Lawrence Island IFR. And for the central Bering Sea, marginal becoming VFR for the Alaska Peninsula and the entire Aleutian chain. And then for the morning hours Thursday, marginal VFR reappears here for the Aleutians, southern Bering Sea. Big area of IFR here over the northern Bering, right on into the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, as well as Bristol Bay, down to the Alaska Peninsula. To the east, VFR from southern Cook Inlet, the Barren Islands actually, all the way up to the North Gulf Coast, all the way up to the Arctic coast. North Gulf Coast, marginal VFR, IFR for the southeast coast. And for the afternoon, Thursday, let's see how it shapes up, improving here for the Panhandle. Still looking at some considerable IFR to the east and to the north there, and a narrower band now for the eastern North Gulf Coast. Some of that marginal VFR could slip into the southeastern Copper River Basin. The interior looking really good from the Arctic coast all the way down into Cook Inlet and Bristol Bay. And then another big storm here coming northward, spreading some IFR up into southern Kodiak Island and the southwestern Gulf of Alaska in the afternoon hours. Otherwise, out west, not too bad. Kind of a widespread area of marginal VFR for the northern Bering Sea. Back to VFR for the Aleutians. And looking at passes for Anatuvik and Adigan. Go for another VFR day, hopefully. It works out for both passes there. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR. VFR for rainy and windy. Isabel, though, marginal VFR. And calling Mentasta, possibly IFR at times into the afternoon. Tanita, marginal VFR. Portage, improving the VFR after a marginal start to the day. And Chilkoot and White, IFR. Freezing levels at the surface here, down over the Aleutians now, and then up along the North Gulf Coast. Southeast coast here, 2,000 to 4,000 feet over the central and southern Panhandle, 6,000 feet near the Queen Charlottes. And for the icing chart here, best chance of some significant icing will be in this shaded area here with that front, rather active front pushing up into the central and southern southeast coast with lighter amounts here into the North Gulf Coast. And out to the west, could be some icing here, kind of a widespread area over the northern Bering Sea with a narrow band along a weak trough axis down the southwest coast. And from there, looking at the jet stream, continued light winds out here over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, and also in the interior with the main jet kind of getting onto the chart now. Westerlies about up to 145 knots, but still well to the south. Southerlies 105 knots now across the Panhandle, as you can see, coming westerly over the top of a building ridge over western Canada. And at 9,000 feet, with that active front coming northward here and the low pulling up toward the Gulf of Alaska, big increase in the winds for the Panhandle tomorrow, anywhere from 60 to 80 knots there. 40 knots out of the southeast along the, looks like the Alaska Range there, and southeast 40 just south of St. Lawrence Island. And for 3,000 feet, easterly winds, 35 knots for the western Arctic coast, and 35 to 45 knot easterlies here along and just south of the Brooks Range there, Kobuk Valley to St. Lawrence Island. Looking at 60 knot easterlies at this elevation up to the eastern North Gulf Coast, up to 70 knots there over the southern panhandle. Out to the west, not too bad, 35 knots, and that's about it on the backside of this low just north of Adak. So going on to turbulence, of course with the strong front coming up, that's the best place you'll see any considerable moderate turbulence all across the panhandle here, especially out along the coast up to the North Gulf Coast. Montague Island be about the cutoff point, and then light to isolated moderate turbulence here over the just north of the Alaska Range, and with those easterly winds there across the northern Koyukuk, Kobuk Valley, out into the Chukchi Sea to St. Lawrence Island.